What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today's video we have another 2025 NFL mock draft. I just wanted to say thank you guys so much for the comments down below in the last video. They'll always make a difference, whether it's video quality or actual mock draft quality or what do you think your team needs. Please leave comments down below because they always will have an impact on the video. Alright, let's just get straight into it. Ready? Remember, if you like the video, make sure to like and subscribe, and if you don't, leave comments down below, as I just said. So let's get straight into it. Pick number 1, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think they might want to look to move out of this pick, but it kind of only works that way if a team really kind of deeper, like, not saying that Tennessee would pick a quarterback like that pick 6, 7, 5, 6, 7 range would want to move up. At pick 1, it's kind of like, Raiders and New York probably wouldn't move up. I don't know if there's that much difference between the two quarterbacks at the top and Shedeur Sanders, Cam Ward. Maybe some people have Drew Aller up there, Jalen Milroe. I don't think there's like an insane difference. So I don't know if anyone would want to move up to number 1. The only team that I would think right now maybe is the Giants if they heavily prefer a quarterback over another one, right? And they don't want Las Vegas to decide their fate for them. So at number 1, we're just going to go with Travis Hunter. Easy pick. Most likely as a receiver, but I could also see him playing corner for Jacksonville. They obviously need boundary corner help, really just defensive help, and then they also need offensive weapons, so he can obviously provide you both. Maybe not all the time, like every snap, but it'll give you a fair amount of help for sure. Number 2, we have the Raiders. I think this is going to be Shedeur Sanders for me. He's my new QB1. I think, I kind of value the accuracy maybe a little bit more, than, the playmaking, kind of hero ball mentality that Cam Ward has. Now, obviously, he has to play that way because Miami's defense is going to let up 50 every game. But I just kind of get put off by that. Also, imagine the media this would get if 2 Colorado players went 1 and 2. Number 3, we're also going quarterback. We're just going to go Cam Ward. Just, kind of what I discussed earlier. These 2 quarterbacks, not a ton separates them. I just like the accuracy Shedeur has more, and the Giants would be, you would assume, fine with taking a quarterback at 3. Another possibility is maybe they move back, try to get that quarterback later on, but I don't know. I don't think you really mess around with that if you think you have a franchise quarterback on the line. New England Patriots, we're definitely going to move back here. Patriots just suck, and they need offensive line. They need receiver. They need a lot of things, and I just don't think you're really getting a great value pick here at number 4. Maybe you go T-Mac. We're just going to send that trade through. It doesn't really matter what the rest of the details are because it won't impact this mock draft. But Patriots just suck. And the Saints maybe would want to move up and try to grab Abdul Carter out of Penn State. Crazy athlete. They need help on the defensive line. I think their offensive line has been playing better as of late, so I wouldn't go that direction in the first round, at least at number 4, for the same reason the Patriots are moving back. But Abdul Carter brings so much speed and athleticism, kind of the same thing, I guess, but great player, right, with a lot of upside. Panthers at number 5 are probably pretty disappointed because they've just been jumped for Abdul Carter. Now, you could also look maybe James Pierce, Nick Scourton. Wouldn't go Shamar Stewart here, but I also am a big fan of Jalen Walker. Maybe 5 is a touch high for him. But without a doubt, very quality player. But I like getting your franchise quarterback another weapon. And when there's someone like T-Mac available, when you have nothing else, it can be a big, big help to get a receiver 1. Number 6, we have the Jets. This is, for me, one of the Michigan guys. It's either going to be Mason Graham or Will Johnson. Will Johnson, would certainly help out that secondary, which is struggling right now. Sauce Gardner is not playing very well. And Mason Graham would be just an absolute monster as pretty much your second string defensive tackle. I mean, with the ability to develop next to Quinnen Williams, I mean, that would just be ridiculous. But I also like the idea of bolstering the secondary. So that's what we're going to do. Pick number 7 here with Tennessee. Maybe would have loved Tetaro McMillan to be available. I wouldn't go with any of the receivers available here. O-line, I still feel like it's a touch early, but this is definitely way more in range. Now, I could also see a trade back happening here. Maybe if a team wants Ashton Jeanty, like maybe the Cowboys, that would be very possible. I wouldn't mind that at all for them, to be honest. But I'm not really going to make another move here. I'm just going to stick and pick. I'm going to go with Kelvin Banks out of Texas. I think there's 3 tackles, obviously, that stand out. Right, Kelvin Banks, Will Campbell, Josh Simmons. Simmons probably won't go as high just because of the knee injury that ended his season. If all the medicals are cleared, then he should be still pretty good to go in the first round. But you know, injuries really hurt your draft stock, right? Probably would have been the best tackle in the draft otherwise. Will Campbell, I like. You know, there's obviously the arm length thing where he might have to bump into guard. So that's a risk, right? Although I think he might be the best, you know, after Josh Simmons, I think he might be the best. But then you have Kelvin Banks, who without a doubt is a tackle. I mean, he can bump into guard, but his strength is going to be tackle, and he's going to be an NFL tackle. And for the Titans here, he'll play right tackle. Will Campbell, you know, you're not certain. So that's maybe my thinking here is Josh Simmons, injury concern. Will Campbell, arm length concern. Kelvin Banks is then your option, right? Cleveland Browns, we're going to go Ashton Jeanty and not really think twice about it, to be honest with you. Seems like a pretty easy pick to me. If Nick Chubb leaves, this is your RB1. If Nick Chubb stays, it's a crazy running back pairing, and Jeanty's still probably your RB1. Patriots up next. I mean, there's a possibility here. You could even trade back again. I'm staring at the Dallas Cowboys right now, and their massive need on the interior of that defensive line. And I'm looking at Cincinnati following up the Patriots with another big need on the interior of the defensive line. Cowboys, it seems like an obvious trade-up spot. Now, here's the only other thing. Before I'm, so quick to do this, you have to look at it from both perspectives. Would the Patriots really want to drop below Chicago and Miami? Probably not. Just because, you're not really getting what you need there. The tackles can come off the board. Now you're left in a real pickle, right? Because, there's not really a receiver you'd want to take at 13. There's maybe not an offensive lineman, so it's unnecessary risk. So I'm going to have the Patriots stick and pick here and just go with Will Campbell at number 9. If you can pick up Will Campbell at number 9, that's still a pretty good spot for him, I think. He's probably not a top 5 player, or not a top 5 player to draft, but he's most certainly up there. I think just behind Kelvin Banks for me. Maybe even a slightly better player, but just because of the arm length concerns, he's going to drop down. Cincy now can stick and pick with Mason Graham. I don't really have to explain that. I kind of just did. And then Chicago, I think, could also look tackle. Josh Simmons is not a bad option. Maybe it's, a touch early for a player like Josh Connerly, or, maybe a little bit more than a touch early for Jack Nelson. Still, this has got to be an offensive line spot, and I might just go with Josh Simmons. Even with the injury concerns, he's probably the best tackle in the draft, the best pure tackle in the draft. So to get him at 11th, the third tackle off the board, they would certainly be happy with that in Chicago, where they need to protect their quarterback. Pick 12 with Miami. I don't hate edge rusher here, which I think I've done before in one of these mocks, and it's just because they have real problems there with Jalen Phillips staying healthy. This is 2 season-ending injuries in a row for him. Maybe you want to get some more speed there, right? That's the Miami thing. Jalen Walker is a great option. James Pierce is a great option. Nick Scourton, brings more, strength. Michael Williams, crazy athlete. Could even see kind of a trade back spot here maybe. where they try to target Michael Williams later on. Um, there's a couple options. I also don't hate corner or offensive line, obviously. But unless it's Ariante Urzuri, I probably wouldn't go offensive line. Corner, Benjamin Morrison's obviously a great option, but he's coming off a season. Excuse me, he's coming off a season-ending injury as well. So we're gonna go edge rusher here, and I'm gonna go with, I'm just gonna go Michael Williams because he's a crazy athlete, and we know that's what Miami love to do. He's got crazy long arms, ridiculous athlete. Now, is he the best edge rusher available? Probably not, but I'm going based off of athleticism, and I think that that matches what Miami like to do. To be honest, I like Jalen Walker over him, and I also like James Pierce over him, Nick Scowerton. But if we're drafting based on the fit, Michael Williams is a great fit for Miami. Next up, we've got Dallas at number 13. Now they kind of got screwed here, but they're still left with a great option. Like it's I was gonna say consolation prize. Kenneth Grant is completely fine at 13. I mean, like, it's not a consolation prize to get, a top 2 interior lineman in the whole draft. Next up, we have San Fran. This is an easy Ariante Urzuri pick for me. Not going to think twice. He's a tackle. He'll bump inside to guard and then eventually take the spot of Trent Williams in the future, or could maybe go out to right tackle at some point. There's a lot of options with him, and he's a perfect fit for San Fran, in my opinion. Next up, we've got Indy. Could see Malachi Starks here. Could see Tyler Warren or Colston Loveland here. I always loved mocking Bowers to the Colts previously. Now, obviously, he wasn't available for them, so I wouldn't mind going tight end. However, saying that, Benjamin Morrison's available to improve that secondary, which I love to do. Now, I've done it before, so I don't really want to do the same things over and over again. So we're going to go with Malachi Starks at pick number 15. They need safety help. They just need secondary help, right? So Benjamin Morrison was within 5 pick, but I've done it previously. Some of my favorite things to do with the Colts are in a 2-round mock, go Benjamin Morrison in the first and Xavier Watson in the second. Get 2 Notre Dame secondary players there, and it's just, kind of looks cool when you look at the draft report after or whatever. Tampa is up next, and I think Jalen Walker is a perfect fit for their system. I don't really even have to say that much. He's a speedy rusher, in my opinion, the best edge rusher at Georgia. But again, obviously I want Michael Williams because of the athleticism. Now, Jalen Walker is athletic as well, and I could see him going to Miami. But, I'm just trying to mix things up again. Next up, we have LA. Kind of interesting. We have, all the NFC West teams, very, very close to each other here. They're all in from 14 to 20 range, which is kind of cool. Either way, Rams up at 17. For me, it's got to be corner, and Benjamin Morrison's still available at pick number 17. No-brainer. He's a shutdown corner. Season-ending injury is unlucky. I hope he declares for the draft. If he doesn't, it's kind of a shame, but he'll only get better next year, you have to assume, right? Next up, we have the Cardinals, and for me, this is going to be Walter Nolan. I think he's a good fit for their system. Their defensive line has kind of, until recent weeks, kind of overperformed this season. Walter Nolan is definitely going to make a big impact. He's not my favorite interior defensive lineman in the draft, but I think he's a great fit for Arizona specifically. Next up, we've got Atlanta. Nick Scowerton's just still available, and it's just way, way, way too far for him to fall. Just shouldn't really be here at 19, but with the 2 Georgia guys going earlier and Abdul Carter as well, just happens to fall. It is what it is. Seattle up next. I think this is easily either offensive line or edge rusher. I'm going to go edge rusher this time, and we're going to go with James Pierce. We're going to get some speed off the outside, speed and athleticism. he's kind of like a slightly, in my opinion, slightly worse Abdul Carter, right? I think they're a little bit similar. Um, I mean, with the eye test and, you know, they're both really good, man. This is a pretty good edge class in terms of depth. Like, all of these players, I mean, Princely Amamiel and LT Overton, JT Tuimola, Kyle Kennard, Donovan Aziraku just got a 12 pressure game to close out the season. Mike Green out of Marshall's tearing it up. Kamen Rucker's great. I don't know why he's down this low. Josiah Stewart had a great year for Michigan. Like, there's so many of these guys. Washington's up next. I'm going to go Isaiah Bond here. I'm going to get another receiver to just really stretch the field, right? We're getting the speed. Looked like he picked up an injury last night in the SEC championship. Like, his own running back, like, kind of took him out. I'm not really sure if that's like a bad injury or what happened, but you want him to be like healthy to do the combine and pre-draft testing and everything, because you have to assume, just like Xavier Worthy last year out of Texas, Isaiah Bond is going to skyrocket up the draft after running a 40. Texans are up next, and I'm probably going to look to trade out here, and that's because there's a great opportunity, to trade up. I can see, Pittsburgh down here who might want to trade up for like Luther Burden, or maybe, the Chargers wanting to trade up for Tyler Warren, just both of them trying to jump Denver, right? Here, I'm going to go, and I'm going to do like my favorite fit in the entire draft, and I'm going to go the Chargers trading up to try and secure it probably wouldn't be 165, it'd probably be 123. Try and secure Tyler Warren at number 22. I think he's like one of my favorite players in the entire draft. He's going to be, without a doubt, a very, very handy player. He can play in the slot. He can play in the wildcat. He can play it, as a halfback, wingback. He's such a valuable piece to a team. And like with a team like the Chargers under Jim Harbaugh, who is just a physical team, they build on running the football, safe passes, run game. Like it suits a tight end like Tyler Warren. So that's what we're going to go with. Next up, we have the Broncos, and this is an easy Luther Burden pick for me, right? I think that they would have probably preferred a player like Tyler Warren. I think he's a great fit for Sean Payton, but Luther Burden, without a doubt, is a very handy slot receiver to have. Can play outside, but is most likely going to play in the slot. Next up, we have the Ravens, and we're going to go edge here. And I'm going to go with Princely Umanmielen. He has been a superb edge rusher from Ole Miss this year, and I don't really know why people don't rate him as highly as they should. I think a lot of people think he's a second-round pick. I've even seen some people take him in the third round. It's like, no. He's got to be a first-round pick. I mean, I guess maybe I could see him falling into the early second round, but he's such a talented player. It's just players like that cannot fall that low. It just can't happen. Next up, we've got Houston. For me, I'm looking on the offensive line here. I could see Wyatt Milam, but for me, I'm going to go Tyler Booker out of Bama. Just seems like an easy pick. I think he's a first-round guard. I have a first-round grade on him. Because he's a guard, maybe that means he falls out of the first round, but I think he's such a quality player, and he has tackle potential as well. Now, he probably wouldn't play, left tackle for the Texans or anything, but could bump out to right tackle, and he's going to be a quality all-pro guard, in my opinion, within a few years. I mean, just such a good player. Next up, we've got Green Bay. I think there's two options. I think this is either interior on the defensive line with a guy like Tyleik Williams, Derek Harmon, or we're going to look for corner. Sorry. I could even, so Derek Harmon, could even see Deion Walker. Tyleik Williams is my favorite of the remaining interior defensive linemen. But then there's also one Azariah Thomas sitting here. He has been fantastic this year. Teams barely even throw at him. I know Florida State is god-awful, but he is so good. He's a top 25 player in the draft for me, 100%. Green Bay needs another shutdown outside corner. Azariah Thomas, there you go. Again, could also see them going interior defensive line. But me personally, I don't like. I think corner is a slightly bigger need. Now, again, I could be wrong. Let me know in the comments down below. Pittsburgh up next. I think there's two options. I think you either go, well, three options, I guess. Alec Iomaner, Emeka Ibuka, or you could also go, I guess, tackle as well, or Tyleik Williams. And here, I'm going to go with Tyleik Williams. He's been rising up my board recently a lot. Had a pretty good game versus Michigan and has really just been superb this season. I mean, just like really that entire Ohio State team for the most part. He has just been fantastic. Next up, we have Minnesota. For me, it's probably got to be corner. Because it's a first round mock draft, only first round, I don't want to have them trade into the second round because it's kind of like a little unfair maybe. If you're a Vikings fan, you click on the video and your team doesn't have a pick, you know what I mean? So I don't really want to have them trade out, but I just want to throw out the possibility that they do trade out and look to maybe pick up, a running back like Quinshon Judkins, Amarion Hampton, or most likely a corner like Jide Barron, Siobhan Revel. So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to go with Siobhan Revel. I don't know if it's Revel or Revel. Either way, we're going to go with Siobhan Revel here at pick 28. I think they could pick him up in the second round. I just want to say that, like early second round. I'm not saying they trade back to pick 50, but I think they could trade back to maybe pick 35, 36, 37, that range, and still pick up either he or Jade Barron. But here I'm just going to have them stay in the first round. Eagles are up next. This is such a tough pick because they have such a good team. But maybe like what comes to mind is, edge rusher depth, tight end depth and future, right? In Colston Loveland or Harold Fannin maybe in the second round. That's just what comes to mind for me. I guess I could also see safety, but I wouldn't go safety at this point. There's no like Starks available. I like Xavier Watts. I like Nick Emanwari, but not at 29 to be honest. So it's a tough pick, but I think Colston Loveland is the right pick. Now let me know below in the comments. The Eagles are just such a good team that they're really hard to draft for. So if you're an Eagles fan, let me know down below what you think you would do in that situation. Bills. Another interesting pick here, right? Because I like Derek Harmon a lot. And I also am a big fan of Shamar Stewart out of Texas A&M. And I think he would maybe play as the interior. He weighs like 290 pounds. I mean, he's 6'6", 290. He is built like an interior lineman, and he's stuck out on the edge. Like, he's a really, really good player and a great athlete for his size. That could be a very scary pick for Buffalo. The other option, in my opinion, is Derek Harmon out of Oregon. Could also see, to be fair, I could see Emeka Ibuka going here as well. And that's a pick I haven't made before, and it looks very enticing to me. Someone in the comments, I think, said the same thing in the last video. So that's actually what I'm going to do. I'm going to go with Emeka Ibuka here. You got your ex-receiver in the last draft in Keon Coleman. You've got like another one, but he might not stay, in Amari Cooper. And then you pick up a slot receiver 2 for the future in Emeka Ibuka, and now you start to build a really solid, strong receiving core for the future. And obviously, you have Josh Allen, so, I mean, does it really matter what you pick? Does it really matter? Either way, KC up next. Probably tackle for me. Just because that left tackle spot just does not look that good, in my opinion. And Josh Connerly is still available, and it's just fantastic, man. He is so good. His high-end tape is the best maybe in the whole draft. I mean, it's very close to being up there. Um, so we're going to go Josh Connerly, and the Chiefs just get even better. That's what we all want to see, right? Number 32 to close out the draft, we have Detroit, and we're going to go edge, I think, here. Just looking for more edge depth. Now, other thing you could do, to be fair, I guess, is can look for just best player available. The Lions are such a good team now that maybe you just look for anything. Could go Cam Williams, have him play interior offensive line. But I don't want to think about this pick too much. I always end up doing this in the last pick. I'm like scrolling up and down, like frantically. I'm like, where am I going? Where am I going? I think I'm going to go with Kyle Kennard out of South Carolina. He is special. I'm telling you, he's one of the most underrated players in the entire draft. And I promise you, he's going to be very, very good in the future. So, thank you guys so much for watching the video. If you have any questions or recommendations, please leave them in the comments below. If you like the video, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe. And I'll catch you guys next time. See ya.